Here we go. It is the BCJ podcast brought to you by the Holy Grail right here on BearcatJournal.com. As always, you know the drill. Head down and see our good friends at the Holy Grail. They will get you taken care of anytime you're downtown near the banks, and especially our first watch party of the season, Saturday night, 6:30 at the Holy Grail. The Bearcats take on the Pitt Panthers. So make sure you are heading down to the banks on Saturday. Hopefully here in the next 24 hours or so, we have a big announcement to go along with our event this week that I think will make everybody happy. So head down to the banks and make sure you visit our friends at the Holy Grail. The Reds are in a pennant race. The Bengals are getting started. It is our home base. It should be yours too. Hi, Dave.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. Big announcement. I won't be there, so I guess it's not that big.
Well, we know you won't be there. You're not allowed to come. You've only come to one and they lost, so you're never allowed to come back.
That is an accurate statement.
I mean, you've never been to one at the Grail, but
No.
I don't think I want to risk a loss to find out whether or not it was the old location.
No, the true OGs will remember that one.
Yeah. Back before we we were the measuring stick for moving the needle with UC fans.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. It should be a good one. I think the kids coming with me, might have a friend, and should be an eventful Saturday evening. And isn't but Alabama Texas is on at 7.
They are. I think week 2 is going to end up being much better, top to bottom, all day affair than week 1. There are a lot of good games, or good, interesting, But yes, a lot of good games, interesting games this week. Should be some excellent weather to stand outside there and do some drinking and watching. And
as we shift things around, Dave, I think no better idea than this first segment here being our home field apparel rewind, because Home Field likes to do vintage. They like to do old school. By Wednesday, there's nothing more old school than the game that was played on Saturday.
Yeah.
So this segment, the opening segment here on the BCJ podcast through the football season, is the can't miss kickoff segment presented by Home Field Apparel, www.homefieldapparel.com. 15% off your first order with the promo code BCJ23, and you can get all of the awesome UC merch that they have in the Cincinnati collection: joggers, hoodies, quarter zips, t-shirts, crew necks, you name it. They've got great branding. They've got a bunch of really cool old stuff, and they have the most comfortable apparel in college sports. So can't miss kickoff, homefieldapparel.com, and they will get you taken care of. And Dave, let's discuss a little bit. We don't have to get too detailed. I know you dove into it pretty deeply on the brunch, the Bearcat brunch on Sunday morning. Hayden Moore was your special guest, and we've also hit on it a couple times. So a lot of our thoughts are out there, but I know this is, for some people, this is the show that they choose to watch every week. So we will briefly touch and go on Eastern Kentucky. And I guess for me, the right way to put it is I saw what I wanted to see. Like, I don't think there's anything really that I can look at that game and say, I was looking for this and I didn't get it. I mean, you can really dig down into maybe this player didn't have the impact I thought he would, or whatever the case may be. But if you told me 66-13, they scored touchdowns on their first 6 possessions, scored on their first 7 possessions, 500 plus yards offense, 9 touchdowns, like, I think you would be greedy. Emory Jones played great. The wide receiver core made everything that we said during camp look really smart. That's really what I'm here for, is for them to do things that made our reporting look smart. And we got pretty much all of that.
I agree. I mean, the way I look at it is you have a first game with a ton of unknowns, and so you kind of take away the opponent aspect of it when you're evaluating that. And if you just look at it in the mechanics of it all, like you said, over 600 yards, obviously all the touchdowns, high completion percentage, really no turnovers by the Bearcats, but not even really any like turnover worthy throws by Emory. He didn't put the ball in a bad spot and just get lucky or something like that happen. Very few penalties. So yeah, if and there are things I've actually gone back and watched most of the game twice, and have picked up on a couple things that I'm sure the coaches are harping on. But from a fan base going into a season with a lot of just question marks, expectations kind of all over the place, you saw what you wanted to see. Probably you saw more than you expected. I mean, let's be real. Regardless of who the opponent was, they could have been playing the worst FCS team. And I don't think anybody would have expected the quarterback to complete, 80% of his passes for 5 touchdowns and running backs to run for 200. Like I think it eclipsed all realistic expectations. So, that's a good starting point. But we also know that this week and the majority of the rest of the season, you're not playing EKU. And those things that looked really good, they might have been masked a little bit by just a pure talent advantage. So we'll see how it goes. But teams also grow as the season goes on. So those things can also, that you maybe wouldn't get away with if you were playing Oklahoma or Kansas State. By the time you play Oklahoma, you might have those things figured out. So it's just, every game is kind of its own animal, especially now with the portal. I think we've talked about how you can kind of get rid of those, like, not UC was never going to be in a year zero situation. They had too much returning talent on the team, but like with the portal and an experienced coaching staff, I don't think there's any reason that people should have thought that like this would be like a total rebuild season, like a total tear it down to the studs, hope to be competitive type season. Like, and I think what we saw Saturday, regardless of the opponent, kind of reaffirms that.
I think the biggest question any of us had, essentially, well, a lot of people that maybe didn't pay close attention during camp would say wide receiver, but I think for us the biggest question was offensive line. You watched it live, you've watched it now, mostly twice on tape. I know you're not an offensive line guru, but what did you come away with watching the line?
I thought kind of the same thing that we talked about on Sunday morning. Like, they were good up front for the most part. They were good on the interior, and I think they can be better at the tackle spots. There was not a ton of pressure on Emory, and that's the thing. Like, how much of that is just these guys that we're playing just aren't able to get to him, versus this week against Pitt, have a lot more concern. They're going to come, and their defense is their calling card, and I think we'll get a truer sense of the line. Like, I think they'll do all right, but it's a matter of, and we'll get into it when we talk about Pitt, like, Emory was very rarely harassed, punched. I mean, he got hit a couple times, but like, how many throws does he not have to worry about because there's just nobody around him, versus this week, are people at his feet? Is he getting hit a lot more, which is then forcing him to put the ball in a bad spot? Like, where this week, I feel like there were a couple throws that he probably got away with based on placement and guys just making, especially like Xavier Worthy, making a couple really good catches.
Yeah, the Xavier Henderson and the Chris Scott catches were impressive catches.
Yeah. So are those, can you do that again this week against the defensive backfield that, has 3 really good corners? It's to be seen. But those are just kind of the things that I'm sure they're going over. My watch more so was on the defensive side, just to kind of see like what Brian Brown's scheme actually looked like in a game. And I found it interesting, and I'm not saying it's good or bad, but they moved the defensive line a lot. And I don't know if I wasn't expecting that or I should have been, and it shouldn't have surprised me. But they did a lot of games. They did a lot of, twists, tackle, and stunts. And I didn't think they did a real good job of it. Like a couple times they would loop Dante around, and it was almost like he took it too wide. And then a couple times guys would run into each other. And then I don't think the linebackers had a very good game. There were times when Dorian Jones would kind of shoot too fast and get trapped, kind of get swallowed up in the stunt. And then I thought there were times Jack Dingle was a little slow to recognize where the play was going, especially on their one touchdown drive. One of the runs, like they twisted Dante out of the middle, and he went pretty far to the left, and the end, whoever that was, just didn't get there in time, and the back went right up the middle, and Dorian Jones had kind of fired too quick and got kind of washed out. So, and then on their touchdown pass, they dropped Dante into coverage. Like, he's 4 yards off the ball, and I'm just kind of like, I'm not criticizing. I'm just, like, what is he going to do there? Like, he's not going to cover a crosser. He's not going to, they threw it right over his head.
Yeah.
So it's like, have him, my thinking is he either, goes head up on the center and shoves him back, or gaps it and takes up the guard in the center. Like, it felt like there was maybe too much trying to like fool him, so to speak, and not as much just like blunt force trauma. And maybe that's just like, hey, we know we're gonna win. Let's see what these guys do when we make these calls. They're already up. They were already up, what, 28-0, 35-0 when they scored their only touchdown. So I'm,
35-0, yeah.
In the grand scheme, it's not a huge deal. But like this week against a better offensive line, probably better running backs. Like, if you do that and you get out of position and your linebackers aren't in their run fits, then you're going to get gashed for way more than just a couple long runs.
Yeah. Defensively, I thought it felt pretty vanilla. We didn't really see that like relentless, everybody up the field kind of mentality that we've heard is coming, which is understandable. One, like we talked about, Eastern did exactly what we thought they were going to do and got the ball out insanely quick. Like, it was, 1 count, 2 count, let it go. Especially setting the tone early. And then when you set the tone early with that, like, then the defense just is kind of lulled into like, we're probably not getting home. So let's I
don't know. I obviously didn't track it, but I can only think of off the top of my head one throw that went further than 20 air yards. It was on the far sideline, kind of a crosser, got in there between the corner and the safety coming over. So, yeah, it was a lot of quick slants, a lot of, get the ball out fairly quickly. And that can be frustrating for defensive linemen, especially when they've been working all summer.
Go.
Yeah, this defense, we're pinning their ears back. You just rush and rush and rush. But, I mean, it's not the only team that plays offense like that. So they got to figure out a way to play it. So, other than that, though, it's, like we said, 66-13. I'm clearly just looking for, like I said, interesting things. Not even saying
we were talking about what we want to see, what we wanted to see going into the game. Mm-hmm. So I think that fits under things that you were looking for, especially, like you said, you're going to see this dance more than once of teams that want to get it to the quarterback hands and get it out to their wide receivers, their playmakers as quick as possible. But I thought they neutralized a really good quarterback. Like I was talking to a couple of the D linemen that were really, really impressed with him and said he had a great pocket presence. He had a great feel for where pressure was coming from, what was going on around him. They said just, in the stuff that like football players look for, that was a really, really good college quarterback that, kept the defense on their toes with his ability to not only get it out hot, but also understand like, okay, here's where the pressure is, here's where and manipulate things. And he still, as good as he looked, he did not have a great day. Like it wasn't like he played great.
No, I expected him to
play better,
to hit more passes down the field. Just because, like you said, his experience, their offensive line's experience, their playbook was not shortened by any means. When you have a 6-year quarterback who's done what he's done, like you run your stuff, and if you see stops it, then they stop it. But you're not going to like take the ball out of his hands, so to speak, to try to keep the game closer than maybe what the final score ended up being.
Right. No, I thought defensively, there are some things that they're going to have to improve on, not only for Pitt, but going forward. I wasn't too concerned about the 2 long runs. I think the run fit probably wasn't great, but you were also playing a team that just wasn't running the ball, and they were down 40. Like all of a sudden, you're gonna start playing, run fits in those situations, and they hit 2 big gains on plays up the gut where, the linebackers probably weren't in the right spot, but also they probably weren't attacking the line of scrimmage thinking,
well, yeah, they hit the run plays because we happened to run a stunt that pulled Dante out of the middle of the field. Like that's right where they ran. They just happened to call it on the exact play that he's looping outside and, beat the other guy there coming back.
Right. So offensively, I was pleased, or defensively, I was mostly pleased. Offensively, look, the only thing I think I've said negative about the offense is I wonder what things would have looked like if they had punted on 4th and 5. Like, because I think hitting that play on 4th and 5 over the top just released all of the like jitters.
Yeah.
Any pregame anticipation, like, you go, 2 first downs and out and give the ball to them, and all of a sudden everybody's maybe looking around and going, all right, we gotta get on the same page. But instead, great play call, straight over the top. Xavier Henderson, we'll see. I think he's going to be very good against everybody, but it was very clear that Eastern Kentucky did not have corners that could play with Xavier Henderson.
No, he ran kind of like almost like a fake wheel route because he kind of took it and then didn't go as deep inside as you normally would. He like broke it off and kind of just went, because the 2 receivers were almost like in the same line, which doesn't normally happen on a true wheel.
No, but his ability to go get it, Emory put it up there perfectly, dropped it right in the bucket, and then he kind of exploded from there in the first half. That you could tell that was, it surprised me throughout camp that he wasn't just, and maybe some of it was D. Wiggins getting dinged up for a little bit, that, Henderson wasn't just automatically the number one, option, but it was pretty clear that him and Emory Jones are accustomed to playing together.
Yeah. I will say he's pretty loose with the ball. There were a couple of those I thought he, very close to just a dude coming in and popping it out for a fumble.
Yeah, that's not going to work all season. We'll see how if they've worked
Hey,
on that with him.
kudos to Nico. Must have great grip strength.
Great hand strength. The strength is in the hands
Yeah.
for Xavier Henderson. But I mean, ultimately, look, Emory Jones for his debut, you couldn't have asked for a better 3 quarters out of a guy in his first start at Cincinnati.
Absolutely.
Anything stand out to you about his performance?
I mean, nothing new after watching and talking Sunday morning. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry that it was really good. So
yeah, running backs they mixed and matched. Everybody was pretty much getting a series here and there, and then Kiner kind of got the hot hand. But I mean, I thought on that second series, Miles Montgomery looked great.
Oh, he did. I mean, that's like Kiner busted that one right up the middle, but like in kind of the true zone blocking runs, like Miles 8 yards, 10 yards, 13 yards, like it was clear that he kind of, not saying Corey doesn't, but like he clearly understands how to run the ball in that type of a scheme.
It looks very natural for him.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very natural for Miles Montgomery in this set. You didn't see a lot from Ryan Montgomery and Ethan Wright. I didn't think they really flashed. Were you surprised? Didn't see anything from the tight ends, or I mean, Peyton Singletary had the 1 yard catch, but I thought it was obvious the mismatch was clearly wide receiver, so they just went back to that over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you only threw the ball 27 total times. What, one guy had Xavier had 9, is that right?
7, I think.
7, so
yeah.
There's a, and you had a 65-yard touchdown, a 39-yard touchdown, and a 49-yard touchdown. So those ended drives. So, somebody's going to, Donovan Ollie didn't have a catch, but I think he graded out quite well. He blocked his ass off, I noticed.
Oh, that's a physical kid, man. He loves it.
So, somebody's going to get the short end of the stick, when it comes to targets in a situation like that, where it's not a back and forth game, where then you're up a bunch. So then you're probably running the ball more. And, like Xavier Henderson only played like, I want to say 26 snaps, 29 snaps.
Yeah, the snap counts were really low. They did a great job of keeping everybody fresh.
They played 79 guys.
Yeah. I mean, even if you look at D-line, like those number of snaps were in the 20s for everybody.
Yeah. So, in a situation like that, somebody's going to get, squeezed out when it comes to a targets. When you're going to throw it to him, you're going to throw it to Braden Smith, and then, you're going to run the ball and, sprinkle in a ball here and there. Evan had 3 balls. D had the 1. Chris Scott had the 1. So,
thoughts on the usage of Aaron Turner?
I love it. This. Most of the people listening to this know this. That is the type of stuff that I bitched about for the last 2 years that we didn't do with Trey Tucker. Like, you're telling me Trey Tucker couldn't have ran that damn play?
Right.
And obviously Ben Bryant's not going to be like an option threat.
Sprint option quarterback, right. They know where the ball's going.
But you're telling me that you couldn't run a reverse or something with Trey Tucker like they're doing with Aaron Turner, or you can't bring him across for a pop pass, or like, I don't know, man. It's one game and it's Eastern Kentucky, but I felt like one game's worth of offense was so refreshing and made so much more sense than 13 games worth of offense last year.
Yeah, I mean, you're dealing with a head coach that's been a play caller for a long-ass time. Like, if he's not got down the flow of play calling by this point in his career, like, when's it going to happen?
Right.
So, no, Aaron Turner, I thought was used perfectly. I don't know. Anything else, offense and defense, you can think of?
No, not really. I mean, I think there's only so much to say about a win like that. So
Special teams, Carter Brown, 9 extra points and a 47-yard field goal.
apparently, Kerry Combs was not pleased with the special teams.
Well, you had the Jamal Williams penalty that I think he just got bright-eyed on the thought that he was as close as he was to sneaking in on the backside. And then the punt catch interference, I mean, that was an absolute moonshot by Mason Fletcher.
Yeah, but
the Gunners were down there a second before the ball came down.
As a gunner, though, you got to find the ball too.
I know.
It's definitely on the gunner at the returner, thinking he's about to catch it, and then you just drill him.
It's definitely on the returner, but that punt was destroyed. There was 57 minutes of frustration built up in Mason Fletcher's leg on that punt.
But no, yeah, I thought they did fairly well on kickoff coverage. It's you never seem to break stuff anymore, knock on wood, but it's just tough. I mean, I think Rory Bell has a good leg to get the ball into the end zone more times than not.
Yeah.
So, yeah, all in all, fairly well.
Yeah, I know. That's what coaches want, though. They want a 66-13 win with an ability to go back and complain about things.
Yeah.
Right? That's every coach's biggest dream is to win big and then be like, well, we got some stuff we got to work on. You guys didn't get the job done in this area. Whatever that may be. All right. I don't really have anything else. Do you?
Not on that one. No.
All right. That is your Turtles Brew timestamp brought to you by Turtles Brew. TurtlesBrew.com for information and locations. 6.6% ABV, 0 sugar, 0 carbs, gluten-free, bourbon-infused sweet tea, cherry lime, raspberry peach, orange vanilla. 50 locations in Greater Cincinnati. A portion of the proceeds go to save the sea turtles. They are in Cincinnati and Toledo and expanding now in Central Ohio. So that's the Turtles Brew timestamp. And that brings us to our preview. Our time to look at the opponent for this week. And that is going to be brought to you by Team Ticker. It's a one-of-a-kind sports sign for Bearcat fans. You can see the sea paw there. Aaron's got the Bearcat. It's a high-tech retro display that provides daily updates of the latest news, stats, schedules, betting odds, and much more. No subscription required. If you're looking for the perfect addition to your man cave or a gift for that special Bearcats fan, maybe to spruce up that dorm room, go to teamticker.com. Pick up your Team Ticker today. And they also have now Michigan State if you, for some reason, have a Michigan State fan in your family like Dave.
Yes.
If we got your wife a Michigan State one, would she find a way to hang that behind you?
I doubt it. Because I would be the one hanging it. And if I haven't hung the UC one yet, I'm probably not going to hang the Michigan
Well, maybe
State.
she would annoy you to the point that you hung it.
She's so sweet. She never annoy me.
She would never, ever do that. No,
never.
You're right. Let's get to the Pitt Panthers. Pat Narduzzi, an old friend, is on the sidelines for a Pitt program that has become stable and steady and solid. It's what you'd expect from a Mark D'Antonio disciple. This is going to be a tough one. They are going to play a physical, punch-you-in-the-face brand of football that it looks very similar to what UC fans have watched over the last 6 years. And the one thing that they have in common with that staff from the past 6 years is they've been pretty good at figuring out how to grind out games and how to rack up wins. They're at that point now where they're pretty regularly an 8-9 win team. They're a fringe top 25 team right now. They handled Wofford pretty easily. So what's the Dave Simone overview of the Pitt Panthers?
Oh, let's see. Let's start with some data. SP Plus, Pitt 28, UC 38. FPI, Pitt 28, UC 31. Sagarin, Pitt 33, UC 42. So these teams, they're pretty close. I mean, I think it opened at 7, it went to 8. Now I've seen it at 7.5, and I've also seen it at 7. I think that's reasonable. I think there's, home field advantage. Still a lot of questions about UC. I mean, I don't think from a betting perspective or from a national perspective, anything was truly answered by beating the daylights out of EKU.
Sure.
So
Nor by them beating the daylights out of Wofford.
It wasn't like a 7-point game going in was going to all of a sudden be like a 2-point game or something. For whatever it's worth, in the FCS SP Plus, EKU is 33rd and Wofford is 66th. Wofford is coming off of a 3-8 season, so I think UC definitely played the better opponent of the two. And I think that bears out also in some of the stats from their game against Wofford. It was a dominant defensive performance.
Yeah.
Wofford's running backs had 11 carries for 27 yards. Pitt had 4 sacks and 6 tackles for loss. They completed one long pass. Other than that, I think they threw the ball for 50 yards the whole game. So just like UC is, going to be facing a much different defense, they're also going to be facing a much different offense. Let's be real about that. Their defensive backs are their calling card: MJ Devonshire, AJ Woods, Marquise Williams, all fifth-year guys. All have played a ton. Like, good players. So we'll see how our receivers translate. I mean, we have speed, we have size. We'll see how they can adjust and work on that. Up front, they don't. I mean, they're obviously replacing Kalijah Cansey, who was a first-round draft pick in last April's draft. They have a good group, probably led by Dayon Hayes and then Bengali Kamara at linebacker, but there isn't –
familiar name.
Yeah, there isn't like a typical Pitt, like this dude is a double-digit sack. Like I remember Bengali, obviously, Kalijah Cansey, Aaron Donald. I remember like Greg Romeus. They've always seemed to have like at least one guy who kind of stood out. I think they're a collectively good group, but I don't know if there's like this guy on the edge where you're just like, holy shit, how are we going to block him type of player. So they're probably weakest at safety. They're replacing 2 starters at safety. So how do we maybe integrate the tight end more? How do we get the ball to the running backs more out of the backfield? Do we see more of those type of plays with Aaron Turner or Braden Smith? Because that's typically who is going to be matched up when that guy comes around. Is probably going to be a linebacker or a safety. Biggest question in this game, in my opinion, is how does the UC offensive line fare against a much better unit than they saw last week? How much pressure is Pitt able to get on Emory Jones? Does that pressure result in sacks? Does it result in fumbles? Does it result in turnovers? Or does Emory, it's a very cliche live just to fight another day, but like, is Emory willing to, on 3rd and 8, is he willing to throw it away and just let us punt and play defense? Or does he try to jam something into a spot that it shouldn't, go? Like how many bad plays are made worse, or how many bad plays are just bad plays and we run another down, or we punt, or kick a field goal, whatever it might be. Like that to me is the main
take
question.
A 3-yard sack. Like it's okay to take a 3-yard sack. It's like
instead of trying to fight out of it and then you get hit from the other side and fumble, or some dude's hanging on your leg and you try to throw one in that has no chance of getting there. Like, yes, absolutely. How many of those plays are there? And what are the outcomes of those? Those are that's probably my biggest question on how this game's going to go.
4-man front.
Yep. Oh yeah, they're basic.
Standard.
And that's the thing is there are, I would call them advantages, but I don't know how much, we'll see. Are they worth nothing? Are they worth a lot? Like UC has a lot of advantages in this game. They obviously know what Pitt does with this personnel. They'll know the majority of the personnel. Their offensive coordinator, Frank Signetti, was their offensive coordinator last year, so they know what his offense looks like at Pitt. They played last year. Louisville won 24-10. He was also the offensive coordinator at Boston College in 20 and 21 when Phil Dracovic was the quarterback, and Louisville played them then. So they not only know what a Pitt Frank Signetti offense looks like, they'll have an idea of what a Pitt or what a Frank Signetti offense looks like with Phil Dracovic at quarterback.
Right.
So, there are these, just little nuances, and they're not going to have to scramble to find worthwhile tape to scout. Like they'll know what works against this defense, what doesn't. They'll know defensively, like this is what we did against Dracovic that worked. This is what we did against him that didn't. This is what that worked against Pitt last year and what didn't. So there's a lot more on that side than it is for Pitt versus, coming back the other direction. They obviously played Louisville last year, but it's very hard to, you could know the plays, but the players make it happen.
Sure.
Like Scott Satterfield might be calling totally different plays because he has different personnel, but they seem similar. So you're never quite sure how that's going to go the other way. So, UC has some things on their side, I would say, but Pitt also does. Pitt has more experience playing together. It's at home. They may all these things may just wash out, but there are definitely little things that you usually don't have when you're talking non-conference games with a new coaching staff.
Yeah, the familiarity is definitely not low. Right, they're these two sides. And did you get the sense listening to the press conferences this week and all the other stuff that maybe these two guys don't like each other all that much?
Well, I mean, I where's the line of people that do like Pat Narduzzi?
That's fair, but he was the one kind of coming at Satterfield a bunch.
I don't know.
I just got the sense that I didn't feel like there was let's just put it this way. There wasn't a whole lot of we have a ton of mutual respect.
Oh yeah, these guys they're all the smoke and bullshit that they coaches blow about each other.
But I mean, you'll hear that a lot more when the coaches genuinely do like each other. They'll try not to
Yes, it's. I certainly think it will be different conversation when UC plays Iowa State.
Right, I just felt a lot of this.
Yeah, a little bit.
Sides were
a little bit of needling and
Especially last night on the coaches show.
Trying to be funny. Yeah, when you're football coaches, you're not funny.
Yeah, where Satterfield was he says I don't run quarterback draw. I've been running quarterback draw ever since I've been doing this.
Now, if Scott Satterfield was me, or if I was him, he would run QB draw on the first play.
Yeah, just here it is.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you didn't prepare for it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just felt like maybe there was a level of these two guys. There's something there.
Maybe
where they don't care for each other.
I'm here for that.
I know. I just didn't get that like you talked about. There's a lot of connections where they should know a lot about each other, and you didn't hear a lot of I have a great respect for his defense, or I have a great.
We've had a lot of hard fought battles against each other, and then blah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not about the old mutual respect society. I want coaches to be more I hate this guy. He sucks.
Yeah, I just didn't. I didn't get the. I didn't feel a lot of love between the two parties.
Right.
Monday and yesterday. So, offensively for Pitt, big offensive line, physical running backs.
Yeah, I mean we'll start start with Dracovic, transferred from Boston College. Big
Originally
dude.
at Notre Dame, right?
Yeah, one season at Notre Dame, and
Yeah.
then BC for 3, I guess, and now this one was hurt in the 21 season, I think. Didn't play much of that year. Big dude, 6'5", 235. He moves fairly well. Like, he had a rushing touchdown, 24, 25-yard rushing touchdown, where he just kind of design run outside the pocket. Like, that would not have been a touchdown against UC. We'll just be frank. Like, he scored that touchdown because it was Wofford. But you do have to respect him. Like, he will take off and run a little bit. He's not like a total statue back there. I don't know. I guess he was very hyped coming out. Obviously went to Notre Dame. Had some decent years at BC, but like, he's a 60% career passer any way you slice it, which in college is not good.
It's not terrible, but it's not great.
No, it's pretty bad. Like, with how much quick game teams do, like 60% is pretty bad.
Okay.
If you're supposed to be good and as a career, for your career.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
He was 59% last year. Like, I'm giving him a little bit of credit saying he's 60%. But 2020 probably best year, but that's again COVID year. Like, do you throw that? Like, how much do you put into that? Had Cignetti as his coordinator, 61%, 2,500 yards, 17 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Here's the other one too. He had Zay Flowers as his main target. First team All ACC that year, and then last year, third team All American. Last year he was 59%, 11 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Like, and Pitt does not have a wide receiver anywhere near the same class as Zay Flowers.
Not many do.
No, well, right. But like, I guess Bub, this guy's name is Bub Means, which is a pretty solid name. Bub Means and Kanata
Bub means business.
Yeah, Kanata Mumfield, top wide receiver targets. I do have some concern about their tight end usage. I think that's a spot that they have some quality players. Gavin Bartholomew and Carter Johnson, both vets, both big dudes. Like, I'll be interested to see. This will be probably Deshaun Pace's first true experience, like coverage-wise, against a guy that size in this new scheme. How do they handle that? When I'm sure they're going to go 2 tight ends. How does UC's alignment change with 2 tight ends on the field? It's a running back by committee. Rodney Hammond is listed as their starter, but he only had 5 carries last week. Daniel Carter led him with 11 carries for 65 yards and a touchdown, and he's more of like a fullback build. He's 5'10", 230. So they're clearly in a running back by committee phase. Sibo Flemister. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I'd like to be 5'10", 230.
I'm right around 5'9", 2.
Something.
Ballpark. It's distributed differently, but it's fine.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So me too. Sibo Flemister, 9 carries for 27 yards. So I'm not sure they know exactly who their main guy is, if they're even planning on going that route. I mean, very similar to what UC is doing right now. I think they have solid, good skill guys, but I'm trying not to say this to get enthused of UC, but no one scares me. Like, they do not. I don't think they have a guy on offense that you're just like, damn. Like, what are we going to do to stop this guy?
Right. If we stop him, we stop their offense.
Yeah. Like, they don't have a Tajay Spears. They don't have, a receiver.
Shady McCoy.
A receiver like a UCF has had, or even an SMU has had. Like, I don't think these guys are Sunday players. So it's like, how, play your defense, you have a good shot. Offensive line is strong, but sounds like there's still some questions there. Their top guard, Ryan Jacoby, was injured the week before the first game, out for the year. So they have, a backup in it, one of the guard positions. They're going to be big. They're going to try to push UC, but UC's got couple big dudes up front. So we'll see
Right.
if that mindset of a lot of movement from the UC side changes against this type of an offensive line. But I think it'll be a close game. I absolutely think UC can go in there and win. I still think there are realistic questions, just like, can I say UC will win without seeing the offensive line function against a good to really good front seven? I just can't say it yet. It's kind of one of those things like, I need to see this team go on the road and beat a competent team before I'm going to start predicting that they're going to do that. Yeah, what's our old Marvin Lewis adage? I see better than I hear. Like, I just want to see it. I totally think they can win. And if you asked me last week, obviously we picked Pitt to win. Like, I might have even picked UC to win now, trying not to overreact too much to week one. But I just want to see it. Like, I just want to see the tackles hold up when they know they're coming, when they have true speed rushers that have size and have variations to their moves and all those things. And I want to see how Emory Jones handles pressure. Like, how many times does he, bail UC out, or how many times does he put the ball in the bad spot because of pressure?
Well, and I think here's the other thing you have to be cognizant of. One, you're not going to have guys just running wide open.
No, not against those DBs.
There were guys, there were 3 or 4 times against EKU that there were guys just sometimes almost just standing wide open. Like, hey, throw it here. You're not going to have that. And 2, you can't anticipate that Emory Jones is going to have time to just stand there and wait for deep routes to develop.
Yeah.
Because that's a big part of how they were able to take shots was he had a bunch of time, and they had way more talent at wide receiver than Eastern had in their secondary. So It's going to be quick game. Satterfield talked about that yesterday. That's one of the things that they've done when they've prepared for Pitt in the past, is kept their quarterback on, trained him during the week that 3 seconds, 3.5 seconds, like, they're coming. Like, you don't have.
You gotta get it. Yeah, you're gonna be faster than that, really.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you get to 2.5, they're coming. Like, they're going to be there.
That's the thing with Scott's offense. Like, how much more will they lean into the run? How much more will they use misdirection, use orbit motion, just trying to get dudes to move? Like, we don't want to be stagnant. We don't want you to just be able to sit there and go, this is what they're going to do. MJ Devonshire is a really good corner. He's also 5'10". Like, how much does that impact D. Wiggins and Xavier Henderson? Like,
and Donovan Ollie.
Yeah.
Like, maybe Donovan Ollie's a good fit against this defense because he's big and physical and can maybe go get some of those balls against smaller guys in the intermediate range.
Yeah.
That's, to me, that's the can they pass in the intermediate range? Like, what does Emory Jones look like when he has to be sharp 7 to 15 yards?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't know how many half rolls and just stand back there and throw 50 yards downfield. They absolutely, I won't say will because I have no idea, but they absolutely should test them deep. Those are some of your players' best assets. But you also have to protect long enough to make it work, and you have to disguise it well enough to where the safety on the snap isn't just flying back to help the corners, and just coming over the top and intercepting it or knocking the ball away. Like, you have to be able to work the interior. You have to occupy the safety. So the tight ends will be important. The running backs will be important. Like I said, how you move guys around. Like, I would expect a lot more motion. I would expect more of Aaron Turner, more Braden Smith, quick stuff. Get the ball in their hands, make a couple moves, 6 yards. That's fine. 2nd and 4, whatever. Like, just keep yourself out of these 3rd and long where they truly can get in their pass rush happy sets and kind of go at the quarterback and truly test the offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, and how do you open up the deep ball? You hit on the intermediate stuff. You hit on your run game. So then they do have to maybe bring an extra guy in the box or pay a little bit more attention to the guy in motion or whatever the case may be. And then maybe you're more able to go deep from there, but you're not going to be able to do what they did Saturday, which is establish everything else based off of going over the top.
They absolutely came out with the game plan that I did not expect. I figured they'd just lean on the run game and pound them, and they came out chucking. If they do that again this week, I will be stunned.
Yeah.
I think you run the ball, you use the new clock rule, you use your interior, you use your stable running backs, you use your receivers that can flourish in that type of wide offense, reverses, sweeps, stuff like that. And then you start trying to hit them with maybe some deep shots.
Yeah. Yeah. What's their special team prognosis? Anything?
I think it's
special.
I mean, I think they got a pretty solid kicker. Which kicking in that stadium's, I don't know what I think the weather's supposed to be okay, but kicking in that stadium, at least in one end, has always been a challenge. Kicking on grass is always different than kicking on turf. I know Carter Brown has experience kicking on grass at Arizona State, but it's probably a different type of grass, which I don't know if that matters or not. But I know as a golfer it does, so I wouldn't be surprised if it does for a kicker. So yeah, just another unknown, another question that we'll have going into this game.
And you brought up something else I wanted to get to: grass. This is not a UC team that has played on grass. I don't know the last time that any of them have stepped on a blade of grass.
East Carolina and UCF have grass.
They do get lucky in that it is there has not been a Steelers game yet. They have not played 50 high school games yet on that field. So it should be fairly well manicured grass, but what impact do you think grass can have maybe slow things down? Or...
As long as it's not wet, I mean, it's just a matter of getting your footing and understanding how your breaks are and how your cuts are different than on turf. It should, as early in the season, as long as it's not wet, I don't think there'll be a appreciable whatever difference. I don't think it'll really matter.
Carry on for 1 second.
Yes, as Kripkeeker said, also Temple. So, but I don't think it matters. I think it comes down to, to me, it's a pretty simple matchup of UC's offensive line versus their defensive line. I think UC has the advantage when they're on defense. I think outside of Sammy Anderson's availability, I think everybody probably came out team-wide pretty healthy. I mean, you got 79 guys in. Nobody should be super tired even after a very hot game. The weather's going to turn tomorrow. Should be more fall-like, so I'm not really concerned about that. Plus, both teams are going to play more of a ball control game anyway. So, it's going to be a quicker game. It's going to be a lower snap count type of game. So, I think it's an offensive defensive line game, and it's a mistake game. Do we force? Yeah. Do we force any mistakes? Do we get more pressure on them than we did in the first half of last week? And do they force us into any turnovers? So, and of course, that's oh wow, really going out on the limb there, saying. But I think in a close game that matters, and I think it will be a close game.
Let's see. We are looking at Showers early, scattered thunderstorms developing later in the day. Chance of rain 50%, high of 77 degrees.
Yeah.
So
a little bit different
that's
than
where we're
like
at for now.
90 or whatever it was.
Yeah. I think over under I looked at is 47 and a half.
Yeah.
I might be, I don't know. I don't think there's going to be a ton of offense in this game, Dave.
No, I agree. I think I'm looking at like, 27-24, something like that.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of around there. I even was contemplating yesterday, just kind of looking at things like 23-20 is not out of the equation here, I don't think.
21-20. Yeah, I mean, like there's a lot of low scores I could see happening.
And look, you know what's going to happen if this team scores 23. Oh, the offense was fraudulent week 1. Emory Jones isn't the guy. You got to give credit to the fact that Pitt is really good defensively and have been for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, we have one data point, and then we'll have 2 data points, and like I don't think you're going to draw a definitive conclusion, one way or the other after this game.
Right.
Like even if UC goes out and plays well and wins, I'm not going to all of a sudden go, well, now I think they're going to win 9 games.
Well, if they go out and score 42 against a really good defense, then I'm going to get out over my skis a little bit about the offense.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that, but I'm still going to like tamp down full-on season expectations because I'm still going to go, okay, well, how good is Pitt? We know, and but again, like there's teams that we have different opinions on already in the Big 12 after 1 week. Like that's just the way it goes. But I want to, especially with the new offense and a new staff and everything, I just want to see more data points before I come close to making some definitive statement on what I think this team's going to do for the next 3 months.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, ultimately for me, we know Pitt has a good defense. We know they have a good scheme. We know they have good players. We know they have a good defensive coach. If Cincinnati comes out and, is really good offensively, it will change my perception of things to an extent. I will also say I don't expect that to happen.
Yeah, that would be a surprise to me.
Yeah. What do you think about what's the line at 8? Did it drop back down to 7.5?
I've seen it at 7.5 and 7. I mean, I would take UC in the points. I think I'm gonna say 27-24.
Still at 7.5 currently.
Yeah.
I think I'm with you. I'm leaning still Pitt by a field goal.
Yeah.
Where that field goal is, 24-21, 27-24.
I'm less in line with I think Pitt is good as it is. I still have questions about UC that I want answered before I pick them to win the road game.
I think that's fair.
Against a fifth-year quarterback in a familiar offense with a good defense, they just have more answers to questions. They might not be great. They might be a 7-5, 8-4 team, but I can't in good conscience just pick UC when I have bigger questions about them.
Here's the thing that does raise my eyebrow, Dave. 10. This Brian Brown defense held Pitt to 10 last year. That raises my eyebrow a little bit.
For sure. I mean, they had Israel Abanikanda. He had a good game. Keaton Slovis was awful in that game. How much better is Phil Dracovic? Is he better? I mean, their fans seem to think he's a lot better. I don't know what they're judging that on. Nothing he did against Wofford would tell me that he's like substantially better, and he's probably better.
Great at BC.
He's probably better than Keaton Slovis, but like how much better?
Right.
And Keaton Slovis was terrible in that game. Like he threw a couple interceptions. Then I was just like, how do you have a Division I scholarship?
Yeah.
And how did you start at USC?
Well, that just gave you a glimpse of the state of USC at that point in time.
Right.
I don't know. That's the one data point that I look at that kind of raises my eyebrow. And yes, I know, obviously, things are different. Players are different. But the offensive coordinator is the same. And I like Cincinnati's talent defensively. So let's just say 17. Like, they get 17. If they've only got 17, I feel pretty good about Cincinnati walking away with a win.
Yeah. No, Marcus Signetti was there last year. This is his second year at Pitt. That was the year before when he fired Mark Whipple. Because he didn't run the ball enough. When they had Kenny Pickett
Kenny Pickett threw it too much.
They went to the damn Peach Bowl, but Kenny Pickett threw it too much.
That tells you what they want to do.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I guess the other thing is, the age-old question around here that carries over, can they stop the run?
Yeah.
I feel a little, decent about it because I don't think Pitt really has a bell cow, like a dominant back.
Well, I mean, like, I'm kind of glad EKU busted a couple runs.
Yeah.
Because, if you just totally shut them down, you have nothing. Like, Pitt totally shut down Wofford's running game. If I'm a coach, I'm like, did we do great, or were we just totally overmatched them?
Right.
Where now you see, like, can look at the tape and go, look, here's where they beat us, and this is why, and this is what we need to clean up, and we can clean it up because we know what to do and we have the talent to do it. So, like, in a 66-13 win, I thought offensively, defensively, and special teams, there was enough there for the coaches to use as far as teach tape and things that they can do better and need to do better against better teams.
I also don't think you'll see a lot of Dante Corleone moving from the point of attack in this game.
I would hope not. I'm going to be watching that.
Dave has already found the potential, like, this might annoy me all season long, so I'm going to keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Just leave him there. Let the big man eat.
Yeah. One game is nothing. 2 games, that's 3 games, then that's a trend.
Then it's maybe you like more athletic nose tackles, but you have Dante Corleone that, like, shouldn't be dropping in coverage or doing a ton of loop around stunting.
Yeah. I don't think Lou Anarumo has DJ Reader dropping in coverage too often.
No, or looping outside the guard,
right,
to the tackle on a stunt.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm with you on that. Anything else you want to wrap up on this one? You're not going, are you?
No, we are. I guess there's a big party at Mrs. Simone's house.
Oh, like a watch party or just
yes? Oh yeah.
Okay.
Tens of people. Yeah, we'll be there.
Tens upon tens of people will be there.
Maybe dozens. I don't know.
So Jell-O shots will be on the menu.
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
What was your take on the store-bought brand?
They were good. Those things were good. They were, I liked them.
Where'd you get them?
I was gifted them. So I don't know where they were purchased.
Crypt Keeper, yeah, we can borrow Eat Shit Pitt when they sing Sweet Caroline. Absolutely.
It's just fun to say. You can say it whenever you want.
I know, but it fits in the lines
of
Sweet Caroline. which hopefully they sing with great glee, and then exit the stadium with infinite sadness.
That's right.
All right. I think that that about wraps it up. I think we're both still where we were at the preview show. We're more likely to lean towards potentially the Bearcats can steal this one after seeing week one, but I'll still take Pitt by a narrow margin, unfortunately. That brings us back to our timestamp, which I now have to go back in and find again. There we go. 0 sugar, 0 carbs, gluten-free, 6% ABV, bourbon-infused sweet tea, cherry lime, raspberry peach, orange vanilla. 50 locations in Greater Cincinnati. Visit turtlesbrew.com for more information and location. A portion of the proceeds go to Save the Sea Turtles. Toledo, Cincinnati, now expanding in Central Ohio. Turtlesbrew.com. They will get you taken care of. Find a location near you.
Do you think that annoys our listeners when we pick against the Bearcats? Because I feel like 95% of fan sites and fan pods like never pick against their own team.
I'm sure it probably does, but I think we, over the years, our listeners appreciate our honesty above all.
I just try to look at both teams objectively, and if I think there's something that would lead me to pick one team over the other, I'm going to. Like, what?
I'll say it like this. I was pretty confident in that pick. I was more confident in that Pitt pick, 7 days ago than I am now.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sticking with it, but it's not done with the confidence of where we were last week, that we both kind of, I believe, felt that it might take the offense some time to find a rhythm against Eastern Kentucky. We don't know, again, how much of that was Eastern Kentucky's defense is not good, which we knew they weren't good coming into the game, but Cincinnati exposed them as really not good.
Yeah.
But I think what has elevated my belief a little bit is it looked a lot more like what we like it validated what we saw at Higher Ground, that this offense wasn't behind.
Yeah.
It wasn't an offense devoid of talent. It wasn't an offense that, even against a good defense, didn't have their moments every day and didn't look like, okay, these guys can make some plays. These guys know what they're doing. These guys have talent at a multitude of spots, and not just, okay, they have a good wide receiver, they have a good tight end. We think the 2 running backs are going to be good. No, I think it's really difficult. It's going to prove to be pretty difficult to defend an offense that's got D. Wiggins on one side, Xavier Henderson on the other, Braden Smith and Aaron Turner in the slot, Shimon Mateer and Peyton Singletary at tight end, and then the stable of running backs they have, along with a quarterback that is hopefully showing he can be a weapon with his arm and his legs. Now, as our guy Marcus pointed out on the board, this is what Emory Jones did in the FCS game at Florida the year that he started. Had 7 touchdowns and looked like, okay, this guy's living up to his potential. Now it's time for him, in a game that matters, to take the next step. I think it comes down to, how good is Emory Jones? If Emory Jones is 27 or more points good, I would switch my pick to, if I was confident in that, I would switch my pick to Cincinnati immediately. But like you said, I want to see it. I want to see it against a really good defense, because if you look at his numbers, where he has struggled is when there has been pressure around him, when he has had to make the intermediate throws, make the tough throw with somebody coming. And what did Satterfield say in the press conference? Last year at Louisville, the reason that they were able to win that game was that they had quarterbacks that made the throw right as they were getting hit. They made the quick read. There was still some pressure. There was still some traffic, and they were able to make the throw. If Emory Jones shows us that he is advanced in that area and he can make some tough contested throws, I feel pretty good about Saturday. If it looks like the Emory Jones that has been on tape to this point, I don't feel as great.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good litmus test because while this is a good defense, this isn't Georgia. So
Right.
It's like, will they have some drives where they struggle? I would anticipate. But then I also anticipate there'll be drives where they look good and can go down the field. Now, the question becomes, how many do we stack in each column? If it's very few where they look good going down the field, then I'm going to lean more towards well, EKU just sucked and we maybe just played really, really good.
Yeah.
If it's the other way around, I'm going, okay, this is, repeatable, and maybe this offense is more in tune with the play calling and the personnel than we even thought. And, I think we're going to see, this is probably, I should have had this pulled up, but, again, 1 week in, outside of Iowa State, probably the best defense they'll play all year.
If not, it's going to be close, I would assume.
So I think, it'll probably give us a good barometer on like what to potentially expect in the Big 12. Again, one other data point. Like,
Yeah.
it's just hard for me to take a ton. But
GMAC, GMAC says, it annoys me picking against UC versus Pitt. Oklahoma, I understand. Given Satterfield's pass with Pitt, I think he can take the dub. He's 1-1. Like, he's not 4-1 against Pitt in his time at Louisville. He's 1-1. And last year was with Malik Cunningham healthy. Louisville scored 24 points.
Yeah,
this is a really good Pitt defense at home. It's a really good Pitt defense. So I don't agree with you, GMAC. It might annoy you picking Pitt against UC because you hate Pitt. I understand that. And what have we said? I think he can take the W. Neither of us are on here saying it's going to be 42-14 Pittsburgh. 27-24, 24-21, 23-20, somewhere in that range. We both have Pitt by a field goal. If Cincinnati's offense can do some things to Pitt's defense that I want to see happen first, I'm not going to be shocked if we're on here next week saying, yeah, we got that one wrong. I don't mind being wrong. I try to be objective in the process.
Agree.
What else you got going into week 2, Dave?
There were some interesting Big 12 results last week and some interesting Big 12 week 2 games. And, Jeff and I talked a little about it, but, I think with more time to digest, we were so focused on the UC game and talking to Hayden and talking about that, we probably buzzed through it and just highlighted scores. But, like, my boys, Texas Tech, oh, buddy, blow 17-0 lead at Wyoming in the first quarter, blow that one, and then come back week 2, get to host Oregon. That's fun. That's
how you start season on a down note.
Now, it doesn't affect him in the Big 12 race, but, you start 0-2, you start 0-2 for, and I think you got questions. My big shocker, though, is Baylor. Like, I thought they were going to be better this year, and they got worked by Texas State. Like,
they never led. Like, Texas State controlled that game. Every time Baylor felt like they closed the gap or they were ready to make that run where they were going to take over, Texas State went right down the field and scored another touchdown.
They looked small on defense. They looked slow. They got gashed. Like, they definitely miss Jackson Player, who transferred in from Tulsa at D tackle, and then I don't know.
It was somebody that the UC staff wanted bad. He wanted to go home.
And then Ataki Ika, or however you pronounce his name. I think he was drafted by the Browns, like just huge defensive tackle guy. Like they clearly missed those guys defensively. And then offensively, Blake Shapen's out 2, 3, 4 weeks possibly with an MCL strain. They got a couple other players out. Like that's and then they're them just like Texas Tech. Their consolation prize is Utah, who is going. You had trouble with bully ball, like they're the kings of it.
Right, it's what they do.
So they're staring at 0-2, and then have a FCS game, and then just get Texas and UCF after that.
Easy peasy.
So they're one that I would be super concerned about. BYU, I would be concerned about. 14-0 against a team in their first ever FBS game.
Not great. So,
like at home, 14-0 against a team in their first ever game in the FBS.
Not great, Bob.
That's a concern. And then there was Oklahoma State against Central Arkansas. Played 3 quarterbacks, 127-14, but I'm not sure that they're super excited there. Like there's some Big 12 middle that might just not be very good.
Yeah, and we thought coming in that was going to be the strength of the Big 12, is that there wasn't going to be a whole lot of bottom. There was going to be a boatload of middle. And week 1, who knows, things can turn around pretty quick from week 1 if teams can bounce back. And, if you're Texas Tech and you upset Oregon, Baylor's not going to beat Utah, I don't think, given what I saw from Baylor against Texas State. But, think so. It's going to be an interesting week. I think that is what I want to do Wednesday nights on the nightcap is the Big 12 look ahead, and then we'll touch on it here as well. And I think this is a good spot on Wednesday. I think Wednesday is kind of turn the page, close the book on the week before, start to look at the week ahead. So we'll do a little bit of that here. Anything else on the national landscape that catches your eye for this week other than Texas, Alabama? Can Texas beat Alabama, Dave?
No.
No?
No. I do not think Texas is going to beat Alabama.
Okay.
They're back.
With Alabama.
They're back. They're just not that back.
Is Alabama really good? This Alabama?
I don't know. But Jalen Milroe played a lot better. Again, week 1. I don't even know who they played. Probably some FCS team. But, I don't know. I don't see them going to Tuscaloosa and getting a win. Illinois, Kansas, Friday night should be a fun one.
They played Middle Tennessee. Alabama 56, Middle Tennessee 7.
Yeah. But yeah, Illinois, Kansas, Friday night should be a fun one. Hopefully Jalen Daniels plays. He missed the first game with some back issues.
Back spasms.
I think if he misses another game, I think then you start to be like, okay, what's really going on? Like you said, he was going to play the first game and he didn't, and now he hasn't played 2 games. So, UTEP is a favorite at Northwestern. That's a thing.
Poor Ben. Ryan.
Oh, buddy.
I feel so bad for Benny. I love that kid. Well, grown ass man now. He's like 24. I don't call him a kid anymore.
Here's my my FCS over FBS upset special. Holy Cross, okay. I'm gonna say beats Boston College.
Ooh.
Boston College
down bad without Jerkovich.
They already lost to Northern Illinois this year, so here's a sneaky one to look at. Couple look ahead games. Miami is only a 6.5 point favorite over UMass at home.
Ouchie.
And
that's not good.
Does this matter? Pitt plays West Virginia next week.
I can't imagine Pitt overlooking Cincinnati.
I can't either, but
I know it's a backyard brawl. It means something. It's important to all of those people. I would be maybe a little bit more interested in that if the game was in Cincinnati. But
yeah,
it's at Heinz Field. There's going to be hundreds of Pitt fans there, maybe even thousands.
tens of thousands,
Yeah, like just one, not plural, a 10 of thousands.
teens of thousands.
They were always my favorite with the announced attendance. They would be like, announced attendance is 56,000, and they would show the stadium in the middle of the first quarter, and
Yeah,
there would be 5,600 people in the stands.
couple fun ones, I think. Troy at Kansas State.
Kansas State big.
I'm sure they will. They're only 16.5-point favorites. Like, I'm a huge John Summerall fan, Troy's coach. Like, I think he's going to be in the SEC next year.
You were a proponent of him here.
I was. That's a fun one, I think. If you're a masochist, Iowa State.
What's the over-under on that?
That one's interesting. Ole Miss Tulane, 330 on the Iowa State, 36.5.
Under. You want to talk about a masochist? You bet the Iowa State
Mississippi
under.
to Ole Miss Tulane. Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss
I bet an Iowa under last year that was like low 30s, and it hit. Yeah, Ole Miss Tulane's an interesting one. Would love to watch Washington, but they're on Pac-12 Network. Like, I think they're a ton of fun. Could be a sneaky playoff team, possibly.
But you want to talk about how bad is Indiana? Go watch Michael Penix play quarterback at Indiana, and then watch him play quarterback at Washington.
Yeah,
it's not the same human.
I mean, he's healthy. He's healthy, but yes, it doesn't. Like, they're not playing. Those guys aren't playing the same sport.
He was healthy going into the UC game.
Yeah.
And he was terrible. Dreadful.
SMU, Oklahoma. I want to see Oklahoma against a team whose coach probably won't cry on the sideline. I also have an irrational amount of hate for SMU for no reason.
Oh, the stuff that's coming out of that Dallas recently.
So there was an article on ESPN today where some SMU guy was like talking about letting the beast out. I'm like these guys are the Tennessee fraternity guy whose dad has an awesome house at Norris Lake, who has an RV that comes to every game to tailgate and feeds and gets all the fraternity guys drunk, and they all know it, and they just have they give the son a bid because they're like, we get to go to this dude's lake house all the time.
We hate this guy. We don't want to spend 1 second with this guy, but we're going to let him in the club.
Yeah. I should not care one bit. Like, not one damn bit, because they're people in Dallas don't care one damn bit. But
right.
So why do I care? But of course it goes back to the never released episode 12 of The Hilltop. That's the start of it all. And then now just all these articles about a program that hasn't actually won anything ever.
Hasn't done anything ever.
So whatever. So part of me wants to see how they do, because maybe it shows maybe some blemishes in Oklahoma. Another part of me wants to see Oklahoma beat them 100-0. Yeah, Marcus, I'm definitely checking out Boise UCF, although I'm a little more down on Boise than I was going into the season after their Washington game. I think Washington's real good, but they really did not fare very well against the Huskies. So I think UCF will. That spread's only 3.5. I thought it would be more than that.
Yeah.
But no, I think there's if you're with UC on the road and you're going to sit at home all day, I think this Saturday is a much better full day, like starting. I think Colorado, Nebraska is at 11 o'clock. Like,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, there's some.
AM?
If you're a real sicko, there are. No, it's noon, but there is an 11 o'clock game, Vandy Wake Forest. So
Well, that'll be 11 a.m. Central. So
if you're a real sicko, you can start watching from 11 a.m. and go all the way. I mean, there's several good 7 o'clock games. You got Texas, Alabama, Oregon, Texas Tech, UCF, Boise, and then Wisconsin, Washington State at 7:30, Arizona, Mississippi State, UCLA, San Diego State. Like, let's see, what kind of late nighters do we got? Auburn, Cal, if you really care. Stanford, USC's actually on Fox, so you get to watch them for the first time this year. Had 2 games on Pac-12 Network.
I still won't be watching anything on ESPN. So
I made the switch. I got YouTube
Did ya?
TV, so
did you?
yeah.
I probably should have.
I wasn't gonna miss I wanted to watch LSU Florida State, and I'm just not gonna sit here while these two,
figure it out.
Yeah.
Try to figure it out.
I like how they're
Really
both
figure it out.
they're both trying to get people to sign up for either Hulu TV or whatever Spectrum Fubo or whatever, but still keep
right.
Like
pay us even more than
sign up for this while we're fighting with each other, but don't get rid of us. Just wait it out. Sign up pay more for this other one just so you can watch. Like, why would anybody do that?
I have ESPN Plus, Geoffrey. You're not allowed to watch it if you have Spectrum cable.
Yeah, you can only watch ESPN Plus things. So you could watch the UC game against DKU, but you couldn't see anything that was on ESPN, ESPN2. It was only exclusive,
no live content.
Exclusive ESPN Plus stuff.
Right. No live network content.
Right.
ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, ESPNU. You don't get any of that. You just get if it's on ESPN Plus, which I don't fucking want to watch anything that's on ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
So.
No, but I mean, thankfully, basketball season, their whole non-conference schedule is going to be on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, I'm good then. It's fine.
So because you'll be at the games, but people will be if it's not, I'm sure it'll be resolved by then. But either way,
I would hope it's resolved by Friday. God damn it! Figure it out.
Oh, also, if you're a gambler in a gambling state, if you make a $5 bet on FanDuel, you can get Sunday ticket $100 off on YouTube TV.
Pretty good.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, it feels like a much better full menu on Saturday if you're just gonna plop your ass on the couch and watch 12 straight hours of football.
Or you plop your ass on the couch for 5 hours.
Then go to Holy Grail to watch the Bearcats.
And you can catch Alabama, Texas, and a bunch of those other games that you mentioned. They'll have them up on the TVs. The Bearcats will be the main draw.
They should put the Alabama, Texas game on one TV in the corner and all the other TVs on the UC game.
No, that's not how they do things. The good thing now is they have, on each side, they have 2 massive screens that they'll put the main game on, and then they'll do the other stuff on the normal 60-inch or whatever screens where, the main one is going to be the one that's drawing your attention, and all the other ones are good.
I always love UC just offered an offensive lineman. I love when they put their nicknames in their Twitter bios or in their Twitter. Uh-huh. This guy's nickname is Big Stacks.
Big Stacks.
Big Stacks. Mm-hmm.
Love it.
There were some recruits on hand. Obviously, Keegan is
working on that.
Efforting that. Fill us in a little bit on the basketball side of things.
So, you had Tyler McKinley there. You had LeBaron Philon in for an official visit, and then Jasper Johnson, who's a 2025 top 10 player from Wofford County in Kentucky, on as well. LeBaron Philon is really interesting. I've asked a couple people about my take on this, Dave.
Okay.
And they have partially agreed with me. In today's day and age, it is just as dangerous if you are looking at a kid that has your school and the other 3 schools involved are Alabama, Ole Miss, and Kansas. As it were, if he 3 years ago had Cincinnati, Duke, North Carolina, and Kentucky. Now, that is not to say that those schools have the prestige or the ability to just like flop their junk on the table and get a commitment. But in today's day and age, the 3 schools that might be, and you could probably add Auburn, and he committed to Auburn at one point and decommitted. Those might be the 4 schools that you don't want to see the most. Alabama, Ole Miss, Auburn, Kansas, because they have guys that head coach that they're just get shit done. I don't care what it takes. I don't care. I don't care if there are rules. I don't care if there aren't rules. Our job in recruiting, like I talked to somebody this week that said, Bill Self has kind of quietly decided if they're not in the top 15, then if they're in high school and they're not in the top 15, I'm not recruiting them.
Yeah.
Because he can swim in those waters. And I've told you guys the rumors. I've heard they've got, at minimum, their base salary cap, their base salary floor for Kansas basketball is $8 million in NIL money.
Every year?
Every year. That's the bottom. And then if they need to go get a Hunter Dickinson for $2 million or whatever the case may be, he can go out and get whatever. But they have committed $8 million a year to their NIL fund for basketball. That's a lot, sir.
It's clean living right there.
It's a lot. Now, that's not accusing anybody of cheating. That's just saying, if the kid flops down a top 4 and 3 of those schools are Alabama, Ole Miss, and Kansas, you got a fight on your hands. A big one.
Is Kansas a state that the school can be involved in NIL?
No, nobody can.
Nobody can.
Technically.
Oh, there are some
That's an
states.
NCAA. No. The NCAA states the schools cannot procure.
Right, but there's been state legislature that's gone over that.
Good luck.
Good luck winning. The NCAA doesn't win anything in court anymore, so.
No, you're right. But, yeah, so we'll see how it goes. I think Cincinnati's done a great job. I said this on Monday too. If I think there's one of those schools to worry about more than the others, it's Ole Miss. I believe the guy that got him committed to Auburn is now on staff at Ole Miss. They've had the longest relationship with him. He's from Alabama, so he's down in that area. A lot of those kids like to stay in the Deep South. So we'll see. It seemed like he had a great visit. Take your swings. And we'll see, kind of where the chips fall. Jasper Johnson, he might be the best player UC's recruiting. Like, Dave, I watched him score 12 points in like 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Of an AAU game. Yeah, and it was something he did. It felt like once a weekend, like at every AAU event, he had a stretch where he just hit like 5 shots in 2-3 minutes. If the 3 threes and an and one, with the event I was in Memphis, he's just electric. His dad is played in the NFL. The problem you worry about there is he's in Woodford County. which is Wofford County, which is right outside of Lexington. And his dad was a big-time player at Kentucky and played in the NFL. There's a lot of UK love there. So,
oh yeah,
we'll see
I have an update to my own question. The states currently that it has been enacted into law that can be involved in their NIL deals: Nebraska, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Florida.
The states where they are involved in their NIL collective, also known as 50, all of them.
Well, I'm just saying, legally.
That's why I'm saying. Sure,
There's a handful that are pending governor's signature. There are some that have been awaiting proposals to go through, but yeah, it's an ever-evolving thing.
The NCAA has no teeth. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Everybody's involved in their NIL collective everywhere. So yeah, I mean, they're swimming with sharks, boy. You're gonna have to put the big hook on, get some juicy meat on there, and see if you can snag a couple of these guys. But great to have them on campus. They had a great time. It looked like they were hanging out with Tyler. All those guys kind of know each other from the EYBL circuit and from USA basketball and the Top 100 camp and Pangos camp and all the stuff that they do around the country. So they're swinging.
right.
And then you'll have Jace Richardson and Tyler Betsy here in a couple weeks for the Oklahoma game. I'm sure you'll see a bunch of highly ranked youngsters on unofficial visits here that weekend as well. Yeah. So, anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think so.
Don't really have a whole lot either. I mean, I think
No.
These Wednesday shows right now are pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
We don't have to hang around and talk just to talk. Let's preview the opponent and get the hell out of here. Get the people on their way.
Absolutely.
All right. You have a great night. Thanks to Aaron Smith, producer extraordinaire. Thanks to the Grail, Team Ticker, Turtles Brew, Home Field Apparel. Support our sponsors. We'll see you next time. This is the BCJ Podcast, presented by the Holy Grail, right here on BearcatJournal.com.